Okay, so we're on page 3 in your note packet, solving systems of inequalities. The nice thing about solving inequalities is that we just have to graph it. So when we were doing that 3-1, we were graphing it and looking for where they intersected. We're essentially doing the same thing, but now we're going to just look at our graph. So to solve a system of inequalities, you're going to graph them on the same graph. Remember, when we graph inequalities, we have solid lines, we have dotted lines, we have shading as well. So we're just going to look to see where those shaded areas overlap. The solution is where the two shaded areas overlap. Okay, so look at number 1 there, part A. It says y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 3. And y is less than negative x plus 2. So let's look at this first guy right here. Is he going to be solid or dashed? Solid. He's got the equal to with him. And remember the trick with shading? If it's a greater than or equal to, we shade above. If it's a less than or equal to, we shade below. Okay, so I'm going to start at negative 3 on my y-axis. My slope is 2, right? So I'm going up 2, right 1. You go to the right, you're always right. And where am I going to shade? Above. Perfect. Now, shade lightly, because we have to graph another equation. Okay, so the second equation says y is less than negative x plus 2. Solid or dashed? Dashed, okay. So I'm going to start at positive 2 on the y-axis. And my slope is negative 1. So I'm going to go down 1, right 1. Okay, where are we going to shade with this guy? Below, right? He's a less than, so we're going to shade below. Now, the only thing you have left to do is to make your shaded area darker, so that I can be able to see it. So I'm looking for the overlap. It's above my green line and below my orange line. So my solution is anywhere over here. Like I said, you just have to make it darker. You can erase the other parts if you want, or you, like I said, you can just make it darker, grab a highlighter or something like that. As long as I can tell where your shaded area is. So the nice thing about these guys is we're just graphing them and looking at the graph. Graphing and shading still. Okay, so look at the next one. Y is less than or equal to negative x plus 1. Solid or dashed? Solid. So I'm going to start at positive 1. And my slope is negative 1. So down 1, right 1. Where am I going to shade? Below. Perfect. Like I said, shade lightly. Because we got to graph some more. Alright, what's different about the second equation? There's no y, right? There's no y, and we have some crazy absolute values. What do you remember about absolute values? Close, JJ. Thomas. Yeah, we have a positive value or a negative value, right? Okay. So this says x plus 1 is less than 3. Is this guy an and or an or? It's a less than. I want to go a distance less than 3. He's going to make an and. And x plus 1 is greater than negative 3. Now, remember, x equals our vertical lines. Okay, so there's no y. So these guys are going to be two vertical lines. So I'm going to subtract 1 and I get x is less than 2. And x is greater than negative 4. Okay, that means I have a dotted line at positive 2. And a dotted line at negative 4. And we decided it was an and because I want things that are smaller than 2 and bigger than negative 4, so I'm shading in between. So my overlap is between my two vertical lines and below my green line. So I get this trapezoid looking piece. Should we make our calculator do letter C for us? It will shade for you and it will show you the overlap area. So, if you want to use your calculator to check it, that's fine. Remember, we still got to get it onto our paper. So sometimes I think it's easier if we just do it on paper and then we can check it. How's that sound? So let's go ahead and graph this guy. Try to graph both of those guys. Graph both of those equations. I'm going to graph a calculator. What do you notice about those two equations? They're parallel, right? They have the same slope. Do those guys, look at what happened. When I graphed them, I get greater than my orange line, that was the top one, and less than my green line. Is there an overlapping area? No, these guys don't overlap at all. So if they don't overlap, is there a solution? No. Okay, maybe it'd be better if I showed you the first one. I want to show you what this one looks like in your calculator in case you want to check it. Does that make sense? So, let's go back to one and let's just put this guy in our calculator to check it. Alright, I'm going to put in 2x. X is next to the green alpha button. Minus 3. Now, remember I have to change that guy to a inequality. So I want a greater than or equal to. And then into my second equation, I'm going to put negative. Make sure you use the negative down next to the decimal point and not a subtraction sign. Negative x plus 2. And I want to change that guy to a less than. So I have a greater than or equal to, and I have a less than, so I'm going to push graph. So that was the orange one that, or no, the green one, sorry, that we did first. Come on, you. Keep graphing. So it will give you this shaded area. Oops. I thought there was a way. I thought there was a way to just show you the overlap, but I don't remember how to do it. So you can see where that's darker on your calculator. Okay? Alright. Let's look at that last one down there. Number 4. Medical professionals recommend that patients have a cholesterol level below 200 milligrams per deciliter of blood and a triglyceride level below 150 milligrams per deciliter. Write and graph a system of inequalities that represents the range of cholesterol and triglyceride levels for patients. Let C represent the cholesterol levels and T represent triglyceride levels. All right, so here we go. Here's my cholesterol levels, triglyceride levels. Could we have a cholesterol level that's negative? Not really, right? Normally you go from 0 positive, right? Everything you have, you don't have like negative levels usually. They just say it's 0, it's non-existent, right? Okay, so for my cholesterol, it could be 0, but where do they want it to be the high end? Below 200, right? All right, so that guy would be less than 200 because they want it below it. All right, so let's do the same thing with our triglyceride levels. Where do they want it to be below? 150. I'm going to call that guy C and that guy T. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. And since they can't go negative, I'm going to say that guy's 0. And it looks like we only have to go to 200, so let's go by 25s. Okay, so for my cholesterol level, I want it to be less than 200. Well, less than is a dotted line. And I want it smaller than that. Where am I going to shade below? Shade. Oh, I just said it. Below, right? And then my triglyceride levels, I have a dotted line at 150. And I want to be below that as well. So my overlap, good levels of cholesterol and triglyceride levels are down here. Okay, questions on inequalities?